Does it show for you guys that it's recording?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think we're good to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our virtual coffee with the counselors. We do try to do this a couple times every year. And we started last year, I think it was, hosting this specifically for fifth grade parents, just to help with the transition process. I can't go to the next slide. Sorry, Ashley.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Oh, yes, I can now. So we'll just go through, we'll introduce ourselves. We'll talk to you a little bit about what we've done so far to help transition the fifth graders up to sixth grade. We have a little video so you can meet some of the sixth grade teachers. Your children have already seen this video. We'll talk about what our schedule is like that we currently know right now, and just some tips and things that we've learned through time that might help you out. And at the end, we'll have some time for questions if we haven't answered something for you.
And we do have all the questions that some of you wrote in the registration form. Luckily, all those questions that you asked should be covered in today's presentation. Again, like Sarah said, if we don't cover something, we're happy to answer at the end. Oh, hold on. Why did it flip there? Sorry, I don't know why I just went to.
Jumped ahead.
Yeah. All right.
Also, we are all dressed very interesting today because we have a secret spirit week where the teachers are dressing and not telling the kids what we're dressing as, and they have to guess. And today is Decades Day, so we don't normally dress like this. So I'm Sarah Hughes. I'm currently the 8th grade school counselor. I'm finishing my 22nd year here at McGee. I was formerly an art teacher here many years ago, and then transitioned over to school counseling. But I live down on the shoreline with my family. I have 3 little boys. I also have a 5th grader transitioning to 6th grade. And I'm really looking forward to spending time with your kids.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm currently the 7th grade counselor, and this is my 3rd year at McGee. But prior to coming to McGee, I worked in Bloomfield at a 6 through 12 school, and I was a school counselor there since 2009. I got my master's degree from UConn. I also went there for my undergrad, and I currently live in Cromwell. I have 3 kids. One is a 6th grader, so I'm currently navigating the whole middle school process with all of you. And then I have a 3rd grader and a 1st grader.
I'm Jessica. I am the current 6th grade counselor. I'll be moving up to 7th grade with my students next year. I've been doing this for a lot of years now. I don't know what my count is, but I've been in Berlin for several years, West Hartford. I worked at DCF for a while. I've done kind of private practice on the side. So I feel like I've kind of been all over in the field of counseling. I am also from Cromwell near Ashley. And over the summer, I will be in Rhode Island. So I know a lot of our families are in Rhode Island frequently and have houses. So potentially I might see some of you there.
And we have an intern that will be with us next year, Daniela. She is on this if she wants to wave and say hello. Daniela is going to be joining us. She is getting her degree to be a school counselor. Daniela is a former student of mine way back when I was an art teacher, and we're really excited to have her. So she will potentially be working with some of your students. We're going to give her some experience at each grade level. So some transitioning activities that we've done. About a month ago, I went to each of the elementary schools, and I did a Kahoot lesson with the kids. They were really excited. They had lots of great questions. I sort of walk them through the basics, a lot of things that we're going to talk to you about today. We talk about Schoology, we talk about Power School, we talk about lockers, lunch schedules, lunch options, the actual schedule for the day. They see the same video that you'll be seeing to meet their teachers. And it sort of is just like a taster to get them excited about coming up here. We do it before they get to come up for Get to Know You Day, just so they can really be looking forward to that and asking questions. And I do a Q&A with them at the end of the lesson. And like I said, they had some really great questions to ask. Then they came up here for Get to Know You Day. Each school comes separately. They get to have a, almost an hour-long tour with some students of mine. They were all 8th graders. Again, they asked great questions. They were all very well behaved. They got to see everywhere in the school. And I really like that day because they get like a student perspective, where when I go down to the elementary school, I come as the middle school expert, so they get my perspective. And then when they come up here, they get the student perspective. They will again be invited in to come. It's at the end of the summer. It's usually the day before school starts. They haven't specifically said it's that day, but they haven't given me the date yet. But they'll come, they'll do a walkthrough, they'll have their schedule, they'll get to check out their actual classrooms and where they are, meet many of the teachers for 6th grade and their exploratories. Again, ask more questions. They'll get to practice opening locks, which is something they all tend to be nervous about. They'll get to walk through the door that they will walk through in the morning, whether they're a walker, a parent drop off, or ride the bus. And they'll get to navigate basically walking through that door and walking to their first period class, so that when they come the next day, they're, very knowledgeable about where to go, and they don't feel as nervous, and they know exactly where to walk to. So here's the video that we showed them to meet their 6th grade teachers.
Hi, welcome to McGee. I'm Mrs. Seibel. I teach science, and I'm looking forward to learning about the world around you, having fun doing experiments and investigations. Can't wait to see you.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Burnham. I teach reading and writing for 6th grade. We are so excited to see you in the fall. I know you might be worried about your lockers, but don't worry, we'll help you with it all year long.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mrs. Mahaffey, and I'm the Team 6B math teacher. I'm so excited to see you guys next year and looking forward to all the great things we're going to learn. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Mrs. McCorkle. I teach reading and writing for 6th grade, so I can't wait to see you guys next year. And you get to take a look at all our new books, and we have lots of exciting things to learn, so I can't wait to see you.
Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Centerelli. I'm the grade 6 World Regions teacher. I'm very excited to see everybody next year here at McGee School. Have a terrific summer and see you next fall.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mrs. Botticello over at McGee. I teach 6th grade math.
Mr. Pelletier, science teacher. Hello.
Mrs. Guild, special education teacher.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Tarver, 6th grade ELA reading and writing.
Hi, guys. I'm Mrs. Prentice. I teach reading and writing ELA in 6th grade.
And I'm Mr. Rossi. I teach grade 6 World Regions.
We're here to tell you some bits of advice and some hints to get you ready for 6th grade. The first thing to remember is who you are. Just be yourself at McGee. Be open to new friends.
So you got a big challenge in front of you. You got a big mountain to climb. Coming in the 6th grade is a big thing. And in your mind, you're all scared. You're all worried. I get it. I was once there. We were all once there. My advice to you, take it one step at a time. If you take it one step at a time, eventually you'll reach the end goal, the big game.
The good news is that you are not alone. We are actually here and we're going to support you all the way. Do know this, that the other 6th graders feel the same way that you feel the first day of school. And as teachers, we have the same energy. We're ready to meet you.
One piece of advice I have for you is to be successful here in 6th grade. You want to make sure you remain organized, turn your assignments in on time, and know that we are always here for you.
And just not to be nervous, even though we know that you're going to be a little bit stressed coming in, everybody's feeling the same way. We're going to be here to help and do everything we can to make your first couple of days at McGee run smoothly. And before you know it, you're going to know what you're doing and you're going to love being here.
And finally, embrace the opportunities that are going to be presented to you by your new classmates and your teachers. Don't be afraid to fail. Trying new things is an important step in your learning, and we really can't wait to meet you. We hope you guys have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Sarah, this is still you, right?
This is me, yeah. So those are our two teams of teachers. I believe teams are staying the same, the way that they were set up in that video for next year. At elementary level, I talked to the kids a little bit about this when I came down. They're used to being in one classroom and just moving for exploratories or specials, as they call them. They typically have a desk that they keep organized with their materials. Our elementary schools use Google Classroom, and they all use their Chromebooks, but those stay in school. When they move up here, they start to have a little more freedom than they did in elementary school. They were all excited to hear that they don't have to walk down the hallway in a straight line with everyone in their classroom any longer. But along with that comes with more expectations. So they're going to have 7 or 8 classes every day. Most of their classes have about 20 kids in them, somewhere between 15, I would say, and like 23 or 24. They will each get a locker, and the 6th grade classes are centrally located in our building, both up and downstairs. So they're directly in the center of the school. So when they move to their exploratory classes or their specials, they're on either side of the 6th grade classes. They are definitely required to be more organized because they are going to be utilizing a locker and not carrying a backpack. Or having a desk in their classroom that they get to keep their own stuff in. And we work a lot with them, as do the classroom teachers, on how to navigate that, when to go to their lockers, when it makes most sense. So they're not trying to run to their locker every period. And if we have students that are particularly challenged in that area, we work extra with them. We don't use Google Classroom. We use something called Schoology. It's very similar. All the teachers use it. All the teachers are required to keep their Schoology accounts set up the same way. Your student will learn day one a lot about Schoology. You're going to hear more about it from Mrs. Barton or Mrs. Stevenson coming up to give you a little bit more detail about it. But we do use PowerSchool. I know you use that at the elementary school as well, but you can go into PowerSchool as frequently as you like to look at grades. Teachers do tend to use zeros as placeholders, so you know. Does not mean your child is getting a 0 on the assignment. It just means it's a little reminder for your student to hand things in. They will all be assigned a Chromebook. I believe that they do that on the day that they visit before school starts. And they'll be given their Chromebook and a charger, and they get to take it home for the year, and they return it at the end of the year. And they take it back and forth to school and home each night. I would say the majority of their work is on their Chromebook. Students don't have a school counselor in our elementary schools, so they have a school psychologist or a social worker. At McGee, they are all assigned a school counselor. That's myself, and I stay with them for all 3 years. And our very first lesson that I do with them is, what is a school counselor and what is our role in their lives? So they're going to learn a lot about that when they come up too. This is a typical schedule currently. I say that because over the summer, administration, works on all sorts of things, and sometimes we do find out that the schedule changes. But currently, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we follow one rotation, and on Tuesdays and Fridays, we follow a different. Basically, on the 3 days, we have a period in the day towards the bottom called directed study. It is like a study hall. Students can use that time to get homework done. They can get extra help from a teacher. They can finish taking a quiz or a test, or go make up work if they happen to have been absent. If they're all caught up in their classes and they have no homework, they can free read or things like that. But currently, they have 3 of these every week. I don't know that that'll be the same next year. There are periods in their day, A, B, C, D, E, F, and X. Those stay in that same order as you see it on those 2 schedules. They're going to have 2 blocks that are exploratories. One of their exploratory blocks, they stay for a trimester. We're on trimesters as they are at elementary. They'll either have art, they'll have STEAM, or they'll have a digital literacy class. And each trimester, they get one of those courses, and it'll stay the same. So for example, if they have art, First trimester, they have art every single day for the entire trimester. Their other exploratory block rotates between band, chorus, or their music selection, health, PE, wellness, and that's it, right?
Yep.
Correct? Yeah. And there's a, rotation. So in the end, when we first show kids the schedule, they're like, there's so much on it and so confusing. In the end, the only thing that they really need to know, like what day it is that one exploratory block where it changes from PE, wellness, or music. That's the only one they have to keep track of what actual day it is. Other than that, their schedule roughly stays the same. And we have it posted everywhere. We have huge flat screens on both the top and the bottom floor, right when they walk through the doors, that posts which day of the week it is and what the schedule is in case they need the reminder.
And I will say, lunch is only 20 minutes. I know that I think in elementary, they get a half an hour, I believe. Sarah, you didn't say this already, did you, about lunch?
Nope.
Okay, so, the kids kind of freak out, like 20 minutes, that's not enough time for lunch. It's plenty of time for lunch. So there's plenty of time for them to get their lunch when they come into the cafeteria. I don't want you to think we're like rushing them out the door and they haven't had a chance to eat. Most kids are done eating within, I would say, 10 minutes. So I know that can feel like a change for some kids, but it's still plenty of time to eat.
I also
Wait.
just add to, there was a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Just about asking if they select their exploratory classes. So I responded in there, but no, they don't select those. Everybody has a chance to explore each of those. The only thing that they will choose is whether they want to take band, chorus, or general or music experience, which is like a general music class. And come 7th grade, they'll get to choose between French or Spanish. So that is the only choice as of right now, at least in the schedule for them. Some of those kids will also take intervention during those periods. So they might miss a day of wellness or some music to take like a reading support or math support or something like that. But that's very specific to each student.
And to also answer in the chat, if a student takes both band and chorus, their directed study time will be limited, but they will still have something. This is the first year we've had many kids that take band and chorus. And I know it's an option moving forward, but their directed study time will be less than if they were not doing that, for sure. And I know that everyone got the Google form sent out from the Fine Arts and Music director for the district to select your music selection. So hopefully everybody was able to do that.
All right, so I'm going to go into Schoology. I know that Ms. Hughes mentioned Schoology a little bit. So Schoology is an online management system for all of our students. Every single class uses Schoology, and every teacher is supposed to update Schoology with they usually put their syllabus in there. They usually put all their assignments. Schoology, you will not find grades in Schoology. That's PowerSchool. But the good thing about Schoology, and I know at first glance it might seem overwhelming, but the kids really, like kids do with technology, they pick up on how to use it very quickly. And the one way of viewing it, so you can look at each class individually, but there's also a calendar view where you can view the calendar, for the week or for the month, and it will show all assignments and their due dates. So that's a really great way of being able to see kind of like upcoming what your child has for each of their classes. There is no parent login, so the students have their own login for Schoology. It's just through their Google. But what I tell parents, the best way, for you to be able to access it is just have your student log in once on your computer or your phone and just have it save the password. And that way, you can log in at any time to see what's expected. Schoology is also great for if your student comes home and says like, well, I don't know what I have to do for work, or I can't find the assignment, or I don't have it with me. Even if a teacher gives a paper copy, usually they always attach a digital copy to Schoology for, kids that are absent or anything like that. So if your student says like, I don't have my homework, 9 times out of 10, they can log into Schoology and still be able to do it. So that's a great feature. I'm going to play a quick video tutorial, just so you know, this was created in 2020. So it starts off saying like, your child is entering online learning. So it was created in 2020, but it's still current and relevant. All the information is still relevant for next year for your child. So I'm going to play that.
Hello, everyone. So now that your children will be learning online, many of you have questions on what that's going to look like. So hopefully this video can answer some of your questions. The first thing your children are going to do is they're going to go to berlinschools.org. Once they do that and they scroll down, underneath students, they will see a link to Schoology. They're simply going to click on top of that link. When they do that, they're going to be prompted to sign into their Google account. And then once they do that, they will have access to their Schoology page. In this online learning management system, the page defaults to recent activity, where they will see all of their messages from their teachers right there. They can also click on top of course dashboard, where they will see all of their courses that they're participating in. So for instance, students that are in my digital literacy class would simply click right on top of the digital literacy link. Teachers are working super hard to streamline the information so that students are not overwhelmed. As you can see here, there are 2 folders that my students are looking at. One is a welcome folder, and one is a folder that says lessons March 25th through 30th. If they click the caret to the left-hand side, they can see a shortcut to all the different things that they're going to be working on. Or if they click right on top of the title of the folder, that will open up just the folder. And then your children are just going to start from the top and move through the bottom. Teachers can add in different types of materials. Right here is a link to a Zoom meeting. So directions are very clear. Join the Zoom meeting, click on the link below. So my students would come over here and simply click right on top of this link, and it will take them to their Zoom meeting. Underneath that are their directions for this week. Welcome back to school. I'm so happy to be working together again. You have 3 jobs to complete by midnight on Monday, March 30th. Here are their 3 jobs. Teachers have also shared their different office hours. Here's a link to a warm-up activity. So my students will click here and they will be brought to a warm-up activity. Likewise, here's an assignment and a discussion board. And then underneath are different resources. For students who are getting assignments within Schoology, if they click on top of the assignment, the assignment opens up. It explains what the assignment is. And then they click on the My Document tab. As you can see here, it takes a moment, but their document will load right underneath, right here. And it's loading, it's doing its job. And so my students see that they need to complete this file. And then they would simply hit Submit Assignment. Once they do that, the teacher gets the assignment and can correct it and send it back to the student or accept it as is. When students are done with their assignments, they can go back, and here they are right where they started. Schoology also has a really great communication tool. On the left-hand side of your children's Schoology course, if they click on top of the Updates button, they will see all the different messages that the teacher for that course has recently posted. In the upper right-hand corner, there's also an envelope. Teachers can communicate directly with students through this envelope. Students will know if they have a message because they would see a little number 1 or a little number 2, depending on how many messages they have. Students can also write messages if they click on the new message link. Along the right-hand side, students will see exactly what's due and when it's due. All right, and that completes our introductory course to Schoology. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, or please feel free to reach out to your teacher. Thank you.
All right, so again, I know that at first glance it might seem overwhelming, but the kids really pick up on it very quickly. Also as school counselors, we don't have a course that we run, but I think all of us do this. We communicate with kids through Schoology also. So if we have like something they need to complete, or if we have like an upcoming lesson, sometimes I'll post the materials through my Schoology page. So we, as school counselors, also sometimes communicate with kids through Schoology. All right, so the next slide talks about Power School. So Power School is a teacher's online grade book. Parents you will have your own login for Power School, and I highly recommend that you download the Power School app. That way you will get notifications on your phone, like anytime, even tardies. So attendance is updated through Power School. Anytime there's an assignment or a grade updated. I would, at the bottom bullet there says caution, like don't become too obsessive with this. So again, we want students to learn to use Power School and make it a routine for them to check it themselves. So we don't want parents to be, messaging their student during the school day saying like, what's going on? You're missing an assignment here, or what's with this bad grade? Like let your student try to figure some of that out on their own. With that said, I have the Power School app on my phone. If my student is missing something, he will usually text me before I even have a chance to message him and say, I know there's a missing assignment, I'm going to get it done. So, we want students to be aware that, parents are monitoring this stuff, but we also want them to kind of take some ownership over some of their, pieces on their own also. I will say that, so if your child is absent, so I think Ms. Hughes touched on this, teachers will put in a 0 as a placeholder. So it doesn't mean that the student still can't turn it in. Most, if not all of the 6th grade teachers will accept late work. Like we know we're trying to transition from elementary. Sometimes it is a learning curve with, more hard deadlines. And so teachers do have different late penalties. Your child may not get, 100% if it's turned in late. But we always want kids to still turn things in. So most of the time the teachers will accept something is late. So we don't want students to freak out if there is a 0. It's just to show the student, this will be your grade, kind of if this isn't turned in. If students submit assignments late, we also encourage kids to email their teacher and say, this was late, I'm turning it in now, especially if it's submitted through Schoology, but it's late, the teacher may not always know to look for it because they're not expecting it, maybe a week past the assignment. So we want students to kind of build up that independence and, become their own advocates and have those conversations with their teachers about their grades and about their assignments. I think that covers all of Power School. If you have any trouble getting into Power School at any point, sometimes parents get, logged out and they need the district code or anything like that. If you're having any issues with Power School, you can contact the main office. Usually they will be able to help you out with that. And if they don't have the answer, they'll get the answer for you. So Power School, if you're going to use anything next year, I would definitely recommend using the app. That's the best way to stay on top of your child's grades. All right, so developing good study habits. So we know that the shift from elementary to middle school can be tough for a lot of kids. So you're switching from being in one class for the whole day to having 5 core classes and 2 electives to kind of manage. And that can take some time to figure out. And a lot of kids come into middle school and they don't know how to study. They don't know, how to prepare for a quiz or a test because it's the first time that they're dealing with this. But we can start to foster independence with that. So I would ask your child, at the beginning of the year, what do you want your homework routine to look like? So instead of, the parent saying, this is when you're going to do your homework. So some kids need, a little bit of a break when they get home. Some kids have other activities outside of school and, you may need to be more strict with, when they're doing their homework if you don't want them doing it at 9-10 o'clock at night. But try to put the ownership on them and ask them like what will work best for you. So again, some kids need a little bit of a break after school before they jump right into it. I will say the homework, I don't want parents to feel overwhelmed with the amount of homework. It's really not that much, considering the kids do have a lot of time during the school day to get it done. A lot of teachers will give some kids some time within class to start on their homework. Really, for math and ELA, in math, the kids are given, at least how it is now, the kids are given their homework usually, I think Ms. Hughes was saying, on a Friday, and it's like the homework for the week. So the kids kind of have an idea of what homework is coming up, and they can choose kind of how they break that homework down. Same thing for ELA. There is an expectation that the kids are doing some kind of reading each night, and there's usually like a few questions that the kids have to answer, but your child will not be getting hours of homework. If your child is coming home with a ton of homework, it usually means that they didn't finish their classwork. So sometimes I'll have parents that are concerned because their child is coming home with, what seems like all this homework, but then in talking to the teacher, it's because the student didn't do what they were supposed to do during their class time. And so then it becomes homework. So that's important to recognize. The teachers do help break down larger assignments. Again, we understand they're only in 6th grade. So the 6th grade team of teachers is really great. They really do work with the kids to kind of, transition them in that way. And I will say that having 7 classes can definitely seem overwhelming, but for a lot of kids, it's actually helpful to have that movement and breaks in between classes. So versus sitting in one room all day, having the time to move to different classes, work with different teachers, that can actually be really helpful for students. We encourage communication with the teacher, but I will say encourage your child to communicate with the teacher first. So, if your child is absent and they don't know what they missed, encourage your child to reach out to the teacher. Hi, Mr. Sanarelli, I was absent in class yesterday. I just want to check in to see what I missed. So encourage your child to do that work. Obviously, some kids may need help with that. Some kids may just not feel comfortable with that, and the parent may need to step in, and that's fine. We encourage all that communication with the teacher. Be available to help, but don't do it for them. I know that can be tough, especially if you just want to get the work done and your child's tired, you want to go to bed, you want to get it done. And so sometimes you can feel like, I'm just going to help them to finish this. We really want the kids to do it themselves. I will say for math, it's really about completion versus whether the student got it correct or incorrect. So the teacher wants to see, like, if they're struggling, but they tried, and they can see that they did the workout, they're going to get credit for the homework. Okay. So we want the teachers to be able to recognize where students are struggling. So we need to have, a good idea of that based on it being their true and their authentic work. Let me see if there's anything else I had. Have your child also check their email. Some students are not great with this, make it a part of their homework routine. When they get home, when they sit down to do their homework, have them pull up their PowerSchool, review their grades, have them check their email. So the biggest thing with developing good study habits, I would say, is just having that consistent routine and structure for them. I think that was it for that. Navigating the social scene, we know is probably the biggest thing for kids in middle school. Fitting in is a primary concern for all kids, no matter how many times we tell them, like, it's not about fitting. That's not the priority. But for kids, we understand, like, it's all about fitting in at this age. It's all about making friends. And we get that they're all coming from different schools. And so some kids may have some anxiety about that. Some kids may worry about meeting kids from other schools. But I would say within the first week of school, the kids, that nerve kind of and that anxiety kind of will decrease. Initially, the students will be nervous, and that's okay. That's a normal reaction to starting at a new school. It's a normal reaction to meeting new students and meeting new teachers, all that. A few things that we do encourage after school activities. In a few slides, we'll be talking about the clubs and the sports that we offer. There's lots of different activities that the students can participate in after school. So we encourage you to talk to your child about those things and encourage them, especially if they're more shy about meeting other kids. It's a great way for kids to meet other students also in other grades. Maintain family activities. So just maintaining like open communication with your child so that they know that they can talk to you about these things that are going on at school. You know, talk to your child. What was the best part of your day? What was the hardest part of your day? Having those conversations with your kids and, you know, maintaining family activities. So again, kids like thrive on consistency. So this is going to be a big change for them, you know, so if they know the routine at home is going to stay the same, there's going to be consistency there. That will also help them. Expecting friendship shifts that we'll have, you know, we'll do a mediation with one group of kids one day that are having conflicts. And they're like, we never want to be friends again. And then, you know, next week we see them walking in the hall laughing and talking with each other. So that's a totally normal part of middle school. There are going to be friendship shifts. They're going to come in with, you know, their main best friend. And then, you know, in a month that may be a person that they need to take some space from. And that's okay. We do mediations often in our office. So we do have that is, you know, we do offer that to students if they are struggling with friendships in any way or having conflicts. We do work with students to kind of navigate that process. Bullying and ways to handle. So inevitably, kids are going to be mean, right? So it happens. Kids say things they don't mean. Kids do things that they don't mean because maybe they feel peer pressure. Obviously, we don't want kids to be mean to each other. We want kids to be kind. We certainly don't tolerate bullying. But I think teaching kids how to navigate that. So again, not everyone is going to be nice, right? So it's about teaching kids how to, you know, stand up for themselves in productive and positive ways, and kind of learn how to navigate that. Social media is a huge piece of that. I'll talk about that in the next slide. It's hard for kids now with social media. So a lot of kids, you know, if they're dealing with stuff at school and then social media just brings on a whole other level. But we are here to help with that. Again, we don't tolerate bullying. And so we do, if we hear about it going on, we do work with kids, we do work with parents. One thing I will say is sometimes we'll have parents contact us about something that's going on with bullying but then they say, well, I don't want you to talk to the student. We just want you to be aware of it. But if we know what's going on, we want to address it. And we do work with students, like we don't disclose names. Like if I have a student that's feeling like they're being bullied, I don't call the other student in and say, so-and-so just came in here and reported this to me. Like we do understand that sometimes kids feel like reporting things can make it worse. We do really try to have that conversation with the student where we don't want to make it worse for the student, obviously. We do also involve teachers. So we let teachers know if there's something going on with students to kind of keep eyes and ears on that. And all of the counselors are also in the lunchroom monitoring things. So the biggest thing is we want kids to feel like they can try to work through things themselves, but also be able to communicate with a trusted adult at school to let them know that there's something going on. Okay. But the social scene is definitely something that on a day-to-day, we are trying to work with kids on. Social media use is a big problem, as I'm sure many of you know. You can see the statistics that we share. We did a coffee with a counselor similar to this one last year, and it is posted on our website. So if you do want to take a look at that, we just shared kind of some tips and tricks on how to, you know, protect your child on social media and different ways that you can monitor your child's social media. So it's not realistic to say that, you know, kids aren't going to have cell phones. I will say myself, I said I was not going to get my child a cell phone. In 6th grade, he got a cell phone. But I gave him the cell phone for different reasons, but I also felt like he was responsible. However, even the most responsible of kids make irresponsible choices because they're kids and they're going to make mistakes. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok are 3 of the biggest sources of, I would say, drama that we deal with. And what kids don't understand is that if they're engaging in something online through Snapchat outside of school, if it becomes an in-school issue, meaning one kid reports it or it's being talked about in the school, it becomes a school issue and that can lead to school discipline. Snapchat, if there's any app I would say to not allow your child to have, I would say, and probably the other counselors would agree, that it's Snapchat. Snapchat is very difficult to monitor because the messages get deleted after 24 hours. So it is a difficult app to be able to monitor on your child's phone. If you
Should I
choose,
add to that, Ash, that if you have the Bark app, like if kids
Yeah.
are messaging in the DM section of Snapchat, you can't monitor that. So I know there's a lot of inappropriate things you most likely wouldn't want your kid having access to or seeing or doing going on, and parents have no idea that's going on through Snapchat.
Yep. And we tell parents and students that you have to be at least 13 years old to actually be on those apps. Now, of course, students can lie about their age and still download the app very easily. But so that's why we really encourage you, check your child's phone, check to see what apps they have downloaded on their phone. Let them know what your expectations are. The biggest thing that I can recommend is keeping your child's phone in your room at night to charge. Okay, so my son has to give me his phone every single night, and he knows that I look through his stuff. It's not because I don't trust him. It's often other kids that I'm more concerned about than what my own child is doing on those apps, but he knows that I'm taking it every night. He knows that I'm looking at it. So I think we surveyed students last year with social media, and the majority of kids are allowed to keep their phones in their room at night. And I can guarantee you they are on their phones till way past their bedtime. And so that's just a very easy way to be able to monitor their cell phone usage. So that is a McGee phone policy. So we don't allow cell phones. The phones have to stay in their lockers. If they are seen with their phone out, it will be confiscated. And sometimes teachers will keep it and tell the student to bring it back to their locker. If it's like a second offense, they'll tell them they have to bring it down to the office. So please don't message your child during the school day, because they're not supposed to have their phones on them. So sometimes we'll have kids come in and say like, well, my mom or my dad just text me, and it's like, well, you're not supposed to have your phone on you. So if you need to reach your child through the day, you can call the main office. We will, call your student down. That's no problem. We also don't allow AirPods and smartwatches. So those must remain in the student's locker during the duration of the school day. This will all be shared, reminded. Kids will be reminded of these expectations. So we just want parents to be aware that those are that's part of our school policy. That was it for that. All right.
So I am going to kind of close us out here. Here are just kind of like some takeaways of things you can start doing over the summer to try to make for a smooth transition. So we would recommend starting some of these conversations early and checking in with your child and seeing how they're feeling about the start of the school year. Is there any goals that you guys want to set together? What are their worries and challenges? So are there things that they are concerned about? Are they concerned about lockers? Are they concerned about getting up earlier than they had to for elementary school, maybe making friends? If they have those concerns, you can start addressing them before maybe the start of the year. Sorry, I'm just going to admit somebody really quick. You can start addressing those now so that they're not on their mind and causing stress like as they enter into the beginning of the school year. You definitely want to reestablish routines. It's a big change in time, the start time from McGee to elementary school. I don't know what time elementary school starts, but our doors open at 7:20. Kids are in their classrooms by 7:30. So for a lot of kids, that's a big shift. They have to. That's our bell. Changing periods. For a lot of kids, they have to adjust to getting up earlier. I would recommend starting that a couple weeks before summer break ends. So they're already getting into the routine, or they're just going to have a harder time making their bedtime a little bit earlier. And you can kind of slowly progress that and actually having them getting up earlier at the end of the summer. After school, I would start kind of planning, your child best, what their needs are. So talking about what homework should look like, and is there a space at home that they can do that? Middle school requires a lot of executive functioning, a lot more than they needed to have in elementary school. And a lot of kids struggle with that. Their brains aren't developed yet, and they're still learning some of those skills. So we're going to focus a lot of that with them in 6th grade. But coming up with systems and help support them kind of through that transition so that they aren't super overwhelmed at the beginning of the school year, trying to just manage everything. If you have a student who specifically struggles in that area, reach out to the classroom teacher, reach out to the counselor. We can help with some of those things if they're really struggling more so than the rest of the kids. I will say, the beginning of the school year, the sixth grade teachers spend probably the first 2 to 3 weeks of school really getting them used to the routines here in the building, walking them from class to class, focusing on lockers and opening their lockers, trying to figure out what they need for organizational tools, things like that, just to help make their transition smooth. So I feel like they get really nervous about those things, but we really transition them, I would say, for the first month of school, because we know they need that. Can I go on to the next slide, Ash, or do you need to do that? Okay. So chain of communication, just kind of like who you reach out to and what you do if you need help with anything. Most of the sixth grade teachers every year send a welcome letter, and that will come before school starts just to introduce themselves and give their contact information. If there's a problem that's related to academics, or if you have specific team-based questions, you would reach out to the specific classroom teacher or the team leader. I would say the best way to do that is via email, just because they're teaching all day, so they're not going to get phone calls. And it would be easier for them when they have like a brief break or something like that to email you back or call you back at a later time. If you are concerned about something maybe outside the classroom, maybe your child's struggling with something else going on emotionally, they're struggling to make friends or maintain friends, maybe there's something new, there's a big transition or something at home, you're moving to a new house, or there's a divorce, things like that, you could reach out to the counselor for. And if you feel like you don't get what you need from the teachers or counselors, that's when you would reach out to administration, or if you feel like there's a bigger system-wide thing or something behaviorally that has not been addressed in the classroom, then you would reach out to administration. There will also be an open house at the beginning of the school year. I think usually it's middle to end of September. I'm not sure when it will happen next year, but that will also be a place for you to actually get face-to-face contact with your teachers. First day of school, you'll also get face-to-face contact with, or the day before school starts, when you come in, the sixth grade teachers will also be here so you can meet them. So we figured we'd close out with a couple scenarios that we frequently see. So what we were hoping was in the chat, you could just put your response. So if your child comes home and reports to you that a student in the class is bothering them or teasing them, what is your first steps and how you respond as a parent? And you can put your answers in the chat. So how would you answer that? What would your first step be in helping your child with that? So somebody said I would ask if they have asked the child to stop, have they let a teacher or counselor know? Oh, I like, what was your part in it? I think that's actually a good question too, because lots of times kids are very good at reporting what other people do, but can't like self-reflect on like what they brought to the situation. Have they talked to their teacher about it? Yeah, so the first thing would obviously be to get more information and try to remain objective. I think that like sometimes we can jump in and be emotional if we feel like somebody's bothering our child. And I think the big piece here, what we want to get at is asking your child what they can do to handle the situation or what they've already done. So I feel like, especially as they're younger, we want to rush in and kind of jump in and solve the problem for them. And we really want to push the kids come middle school to learn how to solve some of their own problems. We want to guide them, but not solve the problem for them, and then encourage them to use their resources here, like reaching out to a teacher, reaching out to their counselor if they have not been able to successfully handle it on their own.
One thing I will just add, just in general to this, is that sometimes we'll have families that share like, you know, this student has been bothering my student for months. Like we'll hear at the end of the year that this has been going on all year and they're being bullied. And but if we don't know about it, so like Ms. Stevenson said, we definitely want your child, have that discussion with your child, like try to have them work through it themselves first, et cetera, et cetera. However, if it's continuing past that, we need to know about it. So we can't, if we don't know about it, we can't help. So we don't want something to continue for months and not have you share that with someone, because we obviously don't want that to be continuing past, you know, a day or two of something going on.
Then our second scenario for you, your child sends you a text during the day saying that they are upset, feeling anxious, and that they want you to pick them up from school. They sound distressed. What should you do? And this actually, I feel like we get several times a year, which is why we put it on here.
Mhm.
So same thing, you can just add also your responses to the chat. Yeah, so people said to call the school to speak with their child. I would tell them to go check in with their counselor and we'll follow up with them when they get home, email guidance and ask them to check in. They shouldn't have a phone, absolutely.
I love that one.
Love that one.
Molly.
You have no idea how many times kids get in trouble and they're like texting parents during the school day. Yeah, so like we want to encourage them. We have phones in every classroom in the office. We want to encourage them to use the phone. The thing is too, if they're like in a bathroom or something texting a parent, no adult is there to see what's going on. So we want to make sure they're safe, first of all. So we want to really make sure that they are in with an adult and communicating with an adult so that they can help them. So first thing we want, do not pick them up. We have had parents that actually come to the building. Nobody knows anything in the building. Nobody adult in the building knows anything's even going on and the parent comes to pick them up. So we would not recommend that because we want them to learn how to deal with situations here. If they're running from it, then the problem's not going to just go away and they're not learning that they can handle some of these things on their own or with the help of a trusted adult. Our goal is to foster independence with them and we want them to be able to trust themselves and that they have some of the skills and tools they need to solve some of those things as they grow up. And we want them to use our resources here. So if Miss Hughes is not available, we share, when you come in for open house or for conferences or anything like that, you'll see we share a little suite. So each of our offices is office space we call the Zenden. And so if Miss Hughes is not available, one of the other counselors is here and the kids usually get to know all three of us a little bit just from being in this space together. And if not, we have a school psychologist. We actually have two school psychologists, a social worker, and another clinician in the building. So if something is going on and they can't get a hold of us and they go to the office, we will find a mental health professional to be able to assist them. So the goal would be as a parent to reassure them and then let them know they need to seek out the supports in the building. And then obviously we would communicate with you after we finished whatever it was that was going on. Okay. So segueing just before we close, I know there were a couple of questions about clubs and sports. So assuming budgets and things aren't canceled because of that, you will get at the beginning of school year a list that will also be online on our website of all the different clubs that will be offered and what days of the week those are happening and the times. It's really easy for kids to sign up. But their clubs, especially most of them, you do not have to commit to. So kids can try things out and determine it wasn't for them. And then they can try something else, or they can go to one thing one week and something different the next. The sports, obviously, if they're doing a sport, then you're making a commitment to that. And a couple of drama club and Girls on the Run is also something that you would make a commitment to. But we have these for both boys and girls. You will see announcements that will come out for the kids. There'll be things on our website. There'll be information that you would have to fill out for the sports specifically, for kids to participate in those. Many of them you have to try out for, but cross country, like if your child maybe hasn't really done an organized sport, maybe through the town or anything like that, but they want to try something and get involved, cross country is a great way of doing that. Anyone can participate. Track is also a great way of doing that. Anyone can participate. And we started volleyball, I think 2 years ago, and they do not have to have any experience. They kind of level it and it's really just an intramural. A lot of it is to gain skills. And then I think by usually 8th grade, or if they've been playing for a long time, they will play against a couple other schools. And I know a lot of our girls who've done it here just to try it out are actually participating on the actual team at the high school. So I feel like it's a really nice way for kids to try something that haven't done something before and maybe pick up a skill that they didn't even know they had. Because I feel like sometimes otherwise the middle school sports are intimidating because a lot of these kids have been doing maybe soccer since they were, I don't know, 3 years old. So to just pick it up and start is not as easy if you have to try out. But some of those other sports, it gives them another opportunity to do that and be part of something and be part of a team, which I feel like is really, really great. And I'm just going to give a little plug for Girls on the Run because as the counselors, we started that last year, or this year, I mean, we had our first season. It is a running group, but you really don't have to be a runner. And it's tied to a social emotional curriculum. It's a national program and it culminates in a 5K. So we had several staff members that volunteered to run with the girls or run the lessons and stuff with us. And then we all kind of dressed up in our fun Girls on the Run gear and ran a 5K race in Bloomfield a couple weeks ago, right? It was Mother's Day. So there is an opportunity for kids to participate in something like that. That is something you need to sign up for and fill out. There's like an application and everything through Girls on the Run. But if kids are interested in that, we will also be doing that in the spring of next year.
And just to add on, we do have late buses. So most of the clubs run till 3 o'clock with the exception of Girls on the Run and Drama Club. There are late buses that run usually every day. Some Mondays there's staff meetings. So your child will be notified if there's no late bus, but that's a great option for kids to be able to do a club and not, have to be picked up by a parent. So if a kid stays for a club or after school help with a teacher, there's generally late buses available for that.
I'm going to say there was a thing in the chat that asked, is there a way to communicate with teachers or counselors during the day? Teachers would be the easiest way would be to email, but if it was something that was like time sensitive, you could definitely call the office. And if the teacher wasn't teaching in that moment, they could get to them or get them a message. You can always call us. We're going to give our contact information at the end. You can call us, set up an appointment or email us throughout the day. We have obviously more access and stuff to phones because we're not teaching most of the day. But yeah, so that would be a way to get in contact. We will also, usually in the fall, we do a introduction to the school counseling program to give you more information about what we do and what we teach the kids. But this is just an example. This is subject to change. We kind of will do different things every year based on like what student needs are. But typically we go into the classroom 5 times a year on both teams, and we will do a lesson on what our role is and how they can make an appointment with us and how they can use the Zenden. And then we do one on size of the problem because in middle school, everything is an emergency. So we really want to teach them to match the size of the problem to like what the actual event is. We also do something on empathy. There's a Start with a Hello program. We talk a little bit about identity. There's a project they do in the ELA class that we kind of team up with the ELA teachers to start getting the kids just to learn about who they are. We do something called the Signs of Suicide, SOS, which will be in March, where we really teach the kids about what to look out for warning signs in other people. And really the end thing is we want them to tell a trusted adult if they're concerned about somebody. And I will say we had a lot of kids, especially in the 6th grade, that reported some pretty important information to us that we wouldn't have known about otherwise. So I feel like it was fantastic. We talk about stress and anxiety. We talk about social media values. And again, like this is all subject to change based on what we feel like kids need from year to year. But that just gives you an idea of some of the subjects we cover. And then here's our contact information. We have a Schoology Instagram page. So if you want to follow us, we will post things that are happening around the building, things that are happening in our department, just little like tips and maybe trends of things that we're hearing about or that are coming up just to give you more info. But our phone numbers are on there and emails, and you can reach out to us at any time. You can contact the office and they will get in touch with us if for some reason there's an emergency and you need to speak to somebody right away. So I feel like we are fairly accessible throughout the day for you if you need something.
We can take a look at the chat and see if there's any other questions that we didn't answer.
I think there was a note that probably just as important on budget. So if you want to check the chat, that there's a joint meeting on Monday that's open to the public at 6 p.m. at the Board of Ed conference room for, I think they're going to be talking about things like what's on the table in terms of cuts here at the building level. I know sports and stuff is on the table, and administrator or clinician that works here that supports our kids a lot. So there's a lot of things that they, I think, are talking about potentially cutting at McGee for next year. Question about biggest concerns at McGee right now. I mean, I feel like that's such a broad question. I don't know if that's like a.
Is there, I don't know who asked that question, but is there something more specific that you were concerned about? I feel like there's different things. I wouldn't say there's like one like major concern. That's different, things that pop up here and there, but.
Oh, student specific, I'd say the biggest struggle is cell phones.
Yeah.
Cell phones and social media.
Bullying is not one of our biggest concerns.
No. I mean, is there mean behavior? Absolutely. Like they're middle school kids. But on social media, I think there is. I think there's a lot that goes on in social media that we are not privy to. And it causes a lot of issues outside of school, but also in school. I would say like that's our biggest concern with students right now. I don't know if that answered. I think that was Lynn. I don't know if that answered your question, Lynn.
If anyone has any other questions, you can put them in the chat or just ask us.
Also, if you don't feel comfortable asking a question now, or if something comes up after the meeting, you can always feel free to email. And we will be posting the recording up on the website for everyone.
We're also open to any feedback. So if you want to email us, if there's anything you feel like we wished was covered or we spoke too much about or anything like that, we do this every year. So any feedback is welcome just to help us kind of tailor the program to what you guys need.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And we hope that this helped ease some stress and anxiety. And we're here for anything that you need. Oh, we got one more question. Do you know how many days prior to the beginning of the school year how many days? So there's definitely one or general orientation, but.
Yeah, but there's someone here all summer. And we have had parents that call the front office over the summer to ask if they can bring their child in for a tour. But the main tour will be the day before school starts.
Yeah, and the schedules don't generally come out until I think mid-August. So if they come in before then, they won't necessarily know like where their classes will be until after their schedule comes out.
And you go. Okay.
And just to remind your child that, again, really the first day of school, the only thing they're going to need to know is how to get from the front door where their bus or the car drops them off. All kids enter through the same entrance, and how to get to their direct study class. We will start for like the first 3 days of school, usually in that period. And that teacher is going to take them and really kind of acclimate them to the building. They're actually going to walk them to different places. They're going to take them on another tour. So I feel like instead of them trying to figure out and getting worried about how to figure out their locker and like these 7 other classes, all they need to worry about is what their first period class is going to be that day. And usually, typically, unless something changes for next year, we start in DS for the first 3 days of school. And then they are going to get a full orientation again from that 6th grade teacher. That's their DS teacher. So if that helps either you as a parent kind of calm nerves or it helps your child, just keep reminding them of that. I feel like even when we do the tour, it's like when they come in for the day before school over the summer, that's like our big thing is like, I want you to know how to get from the door to here, because this is going to be your first period class. And I feel like that usually alleviates some stress.
There was a question about meeting individually with students. So we all do minute meetings with students at least twice per year. So that means that we set up a chair outside of a classroom, and one by one, each student comes out. They're minute meetings, so they're quick check-ins with students, but the students can, of course, they can reach out to their counselor at any time to meet individually. I don't know if the others, what your system is. I have kids fill out an appointment request form through my Schoology. Kids also email, or they can just ask their teacher to contact, but individually we do minute meetings at least twice per year with every student.
And then otherwise it's based on need. Some kids we see regularly all the time, and other kids just don't need that level of support. And it will ebb and flow. For something might be going on with a student. We haven't seen them all year, and then all of a sudden we see them a ton. So it really depends on student needs outside of like those minute meetings.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And as always, reach out anytime you need anything. Thank you.
Thank you.